I've been talking a lot about goalposts lately. They're MAGA, Team Taco, and I know it must be confusing to you. It occurred to me because I looked around and y'all were still doing it. You're still moving the goalpost around. I'm like, well, they ain't getting the message apparently. And then it occurred to me, you thought I was talking about actual physical goalpost is what you thought, and you're probably confused a lot about it. You're probably like, what the world's this dude talking about? That we're out here digging up goalposts and moving them around. I mean, we go to high school football games and stuff, but we don't never go down there on the field, dig up on the goalpost and move them around. You know, that's my bad right there, right? I thought that you would actually kind of understand what I was saying about it. I didn't say that you were actually physically digging up goalposts. No, that would be crazy for people to do stuff like that. No reason for it, you know, really. But that ain't what I'm talking about. I was using goalpost as a metaphor, you know. A metaphor, it means I'm talking about one thing, but I mean something else. You know, it's just using it kind of as an example. You know, it's an imaginary goalpost. Is what I'm talking about. It's anyway. So I was figuring that, you know, the problem is the fact that y'all thought I was talking about a physical goalpost, and you just didn't understand. I was like, well, what you need to do there, Black Boot, is explain it to them more succinctly, you know, and then more better. Okay, I was going to explain it to you more better this time, and let me give you some examples of how that happened. See, there was a point where you thought emphatically, enthusiastically, exuberantly, a lot. You thought a lot that Donald F. and Trump would never do no wrong. He'd never do anything wrong. Not that man. He's a perfect angel. He's a saint is what he is. And he wouldn't do anything wrong. And then come to find out, he stole a bunch of classified documents. And you said, hold on just a minute. And you ran out there to the yard and you dug up a goalpost and you moved it across the yard and you stuck it back in the ground. And then you came back in and you said, okay, now what was we talking about? Oh yeah, that's right. He can take those documents anywhere he wants to because he was pretending on being president for a little while. So therefore them are his documents to take anywhere he wants to. And the reason why I know that is because I dug up that goalpost, moved it across the yard, put it in the ground, hung a sign on it that said, those are his documents. I hung a sign on it that the Fox Faking News has told me to put on that goalpost that said, those are his documents. He could take it anywhere. And I know that to be a fact because I'm the one that dug up the goalpost, moved it, and got the message from the Fox Faking News to put on it, you know. We was like, wow, that's crazy that you did that. But anyway, so then the FBI come along and said, no, those are classified documents that does not belong to him. And it was actually proven that they don't belong to him. And you said, be right back. You went back out there and you grabbed that goalpost and you drug it even further across the yard, stuck it in another hole and said, whew, okay, I'm back. Look, the FBI's lying about that. And the reason why I know that is because I picked up that goalpost and moved it, put it in another hole, hung another sign on it, said the FBI's lying. Fox Faking News told me to put it on there. So that's how I know that. And then the FBI had to do a raid on it and come to find out that he was hiding and telling people how to hide and how to cover up him trying to steal those classified documents. And you said, oh, hold on one more time. Went out there, grabbed that goalpost, moved it across the yard again, stuck it in another hole, come back and said, okay, got this figured out. Look, what actually happened there, that's a witch hunt. What did the FBI come along and planted all them documents down there at the Mar-a-Lardo's? He didn't have them. They planted it. And you can tell by the way that it was because they took pictures of them, you know. And the reason why I know that, I grabbed that goalpost and moved it across the yard, stuck another sign on it that the Fox Faking News has told me to put on there that said, it's a big old witch hunt and that they planted those documents. So that's how I know that. See, that's an example of moving the goalpost, doing it like 4 times just on one event. You know, that's what I'm talking about. You getting it now? You ain't quite getting it. Well, let me give you another example how that happened. Whenever he was facing 34 felony charges there from being indicted down for that paying off that porn star, Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal. At that time, you know, he was getting indictment from everywhere. You know, he was getting indicted left and right. And then get in where you fit in kind of indictment, you know, on him from all the crime and stuff that he was doing. And so he got some indictment on that, paying off the porn star. And you said, hold on a minute, let me go out there and move this goalpost. So you did, you moved the goalpost. And stuck it in the ground there, and he said, "Look, I got a new sign on it from the Fox Fake News that says right there on it, if you read it, it says that man's free to do anything he wants to. If he wants to pay off porn stars, he can do that. That's his business. You know, that's his business there." And it was like, okay, but I mean, it was a criminal act that he did. No, it wasn't. And besides that, they're never going to do anything with it because the goalpost said so. That never happened. You can indict a ham sandwich, you know. And then he actually had to go to court on it, and was like, well, he's in court now. He's facing trial. We know what he did. Hold on just a second. He went out there and grabbed another goalpost, carried it halfway across the yard, stuck it in the ground. He said, "Innocent until proven guilty." Innocent until proven guilty. And the reason why I know that, I just moved that goalpost over there that said it. It says it right on it, right there with the Fox Fake News sign that says innocent until proven guilty. So therefore, that's a fact. So then he goes through the process, and he falls asleep in court, poops his diaper regularly every day, stinking up the courtroom and all. And of course, he's found guilty on all 34 felony counts there. And you said, hold on a minute. You ran out there, grabbed that goalpost, carried it even further across your yard. Your yard's full of holes, by the way. You know that from all that moving, but carried it across there and stuck it in the ground again. He said, okay, I'm back. And the thing is what's going on here. That right there was a tainted jury. That was a bunch of damn liberal jurors on that jury panel. What that was just a tainted liberal jury right there. And the reason why I know that, I'm the one that picked up the goalpost and carried it across the yard, buried it back in the ground, and hung that Fox Fake News sign on it that said tainted jury, liberal judge right there. It says it right on the sign. Look at it. That right there is what I'm talking about. The moving of the goalpost, you know. Let me explain something to you there, Team Taco. Whenever you pick up a goalpost and you move it, just because you moved it, don't mean you're going to be right. You're still wrong. You'll always be wrong. What it means is you'll just never score. That's what it means, because you're never getting past the goalpost because you're always moving it in front of you, you know. And the reason why you're doing that, if you'll notice that every single time you're doing it to protect on Donald F. and Trump. You know why you're doing that? I can tell you why. It's because you're in an effing cult, okay? Because it's not about anything, about policies, about nothing. It's about protecting on your cult leader, Donald F. and Trump. Otherwise, you wouldn't be moving goalposts around all the time, okay? That's what that is. Now, look, even the Canadians, though. Now, look, I got to give it to them. They're moving their goalpost, too. But the Canadians are moving their goalpost. In 2027, they're going to move them from the front of the end zone to the back of the end zone. That's what they're going to do, because they've always had theirs in the front of the end zone right there for some dumb reason. Seems like a safety hazard. But anyway, that's real football. That's real goalpost. I'm talking about your proverbial. I'm talking about these imaginary goalposts that we're using as an example right now, okay? So you're always doing that. Now you see what I'm saying. You should be embarrassed by your behavior. It's pretty pathetic. Anyway, so you're going to keep moving these goalposts on the Epstein files is what I'm asking, see, because there's some stuff going on up there. And that Donald F. and Trump, he thinks you're stupid. Did you know that? He thinks you're a dumbass. He does, because he knows about having this government shutdown and blaming Democrats for it, that you'll somehow think that's the reason why Congress isn't in session. See, him and that Speaker of the House of Gilead want you to think that the reason why Congress isn't in session is because of the government shutdown. Those two things have nothing to do with each other whatsoever. See, because those Congress people that are home on vacation right now because Speaker of the House of Gilead sent them on vacation, they're still being paid, okay? The military ain't getting paid. Other federal workers ain't being paid, but Congress is still being paid, all right? That government shutdown has nothing to do whatsoever with Congress not being in session. The reason they're not in session is because Speaker of the House of Gilead sent them home to try and prevent from swearing in a new Congresswoman that's going to give them the 218th vote to release the Epstein files. And this gets back to your goalpost again, okay? There was one point there where you wanted these Epstein files released. You wanted them bigly. So now then, I'm asking you, are you already digging the new hole for the new goalpost when these things get released? Because you're going to have to. Otherwise, you might get kicked out of your friend circles and stuff in your little cult, okay? It's going to be uncomfortable hanging out with your other cult members if you're like, hey, I can't be on board with supporting a pedophile, and everybody knows he's a pedophile. As long as he was a secret pedophile, I could keep protecting on him, you know, as long as long as everybody else agreed with me that he's only a pedophile in secret, I'll keep on protecting on him. But now that the whole public knows he's actually one, I don't know if I can do it anymore. You know, you'll get kicked out of your friend circles. Y'all gonna have to protect on a pedophile openly when that happens. You know that. So anyway, Speaker of the House of Gilead, Commander Mike Johnson, he keeps saying, well, we can't get Congress back in here to swear that lady in until we get the lights turned on. You know, that Schumer shutdown. We got to get the lights turned on here. I was looking around when he said that, y'all, and you probably picked up on it too. There were lights on in the building while he was saying it, and there were cameras rolling, big cameras that require power. So I was like, the lights are on, Mike. They're everywhere. There's lights shining on your face right now while you're saying that, you know, because those two things don't have anything to do with each other. Now, another thing, too, I want you to be able to pick up on this, Team Taco. They keep calling it the Schumer shutdown. It don't have nothing to do with Democrats. And you know how you can tell? Here's how you can tell. The Democrats don't have the majority in no part of government. They don't have the majority in the House of Representatives. They don't have the majority in the Senate, the White House, or the Supreme Court, okay? They can't shut down the government. The Democrats absolutely cannot shut down the government. It would be physically impossible for them to do that. Republicans could shut down the government. You know how? Well, because they've got this thing called the filibuster there in the Senate that requires 60 votes to pass anything. They can lift that anytime they want to because it's made up bullcrap, all right? It's not in the Constitution. It's just a rule they made, okay? And they've lifted it twice already this session to get some of their legislation passed through, and then they put it back in place. So if they wanted to pass this budget, they could lift that filibuster. You understanding me there, Team Taco? This ain't a Democrat shutdown whatsoever. The Democrats are holding firm because they're trying to protect on you and your medical care cost. Okay? That's what they're trying to do. Here's the deal. I don't know if you were paying attention, but whenever they passed that big, beautiful bullcrap bill, they took almost $1 trillion worth of cuts out of your Medicaids and your Medicares and shutting down your rural hospitals, your assisted living facilities, your SNAP benefits, your Section 8 housing. All of that stuff took $1 trillion hit on it. And you know what they did with the money? Literally transferred it to the top 1% of this country and gave it to them. That's what's going on. So anyway, I'm just wondering there, Team Taco, are you already digging the hole for the new goalpost? Okay, because at some point this stuff's coming out and your orange Jesus is going to be found to be all over it. Now, another thing that Speaker of the House of Gilead, Commander Mike Johnson, keeps saying as an excuse as well, it takes time. It takes time. There's more than 1,000 victims in those documents, and we got to make sure there that those victims' names ain't on there. Well, here's a question there for Speaker of the House of Gilead, Commander Mike Johnson. Whenever Kash Patel and Pam Bondi put 1,000 federal agents to work on going through those documents to remove Donald F. and Trump's name from those documents, why didn't they just go ahead and redact the victims' names then? Because it would only took one agent per victim. They could have had that done in an hour. You see what I'm saying, Team Taco? So anyway, just wondering, are you already getting ready to move that goalpost? I know you are. I know you are, because you can't not do it because you're in an effing cult, see? And when he gets found to be all over those documents along with a bunch of other your Republicans, I know y'all are all psyched up about having Democrats all over them. Probably ain't the case. There might be some on there and lock their asses up in jail if that's the case, if they can still. But that's what you were hoping for. I know that's what you were hoping for, but you're going to have a problem still. Like I said, you're going to have to protect on a bunch of dang pedophiles when that happens, because, I mean, it's Donald F. and Trump, and you're like, you know, broke back MAGA. I can't quit you. You know, that's where you're at. So you're in a pickle is where you're at. So I'm just wondering, are you already planning on moving that goalpost? Because I know you are. All right? Inmate Trump.